A very good day to all of you. So our topic for today is punctuation. Punctuation, as you know, is a system or a practice of inserting various marks in a written text in order to aid interpretation. That is the division of written text or printed matter into sentence, clauses, etc. using such marks. This is what is punctuation. Punctuation mainly serves two purposes. That is, it is used in order to divide successive units or for specification of a language function. As you can see, these are the two functions which are served by punctuation. The first is separation of successive units. That is, sentences are marked off by periods. A period is used in American English and full stop in British English. So sentences end with a full stop or period, and a list in items in a list they can be separated by means of commas. Then there are included units, some which is known as parentheses. So the parentheses mark off an interpolated phrase or a clause. So these two, this is what we mean by separation of units. The second function of punctuation is a specification of language function. For instance, there is an apostrophe which marks an inflection as a genitive rather than something else. So basically, punctuation is used for clarity, and in English, there is a hierarchy of units, as you can see from this page. That is starting from the individual letters within a word. Then there are those letters which are independent enough to be separated by a hyphen. The third is the individual words separated by a space, and the fourth is the dependent units in sentence structures like phrases and clauses which can be separated by commas. And the fifth is the non-parenthetic appositive units. Non-parenthetic apposition is when two noun phrases are placed side by side and they both refer to the same entity. For instance, the example, I have some news for you. Then we put two marks, that is the colon. And then the next thing is that John has arrived. So this is the information as well as John has arrived. They refer to the same thing. Another example is the man had been drinking too much. Then we put a colon, two full stops. This, not his age, explained his unsteady walk. So this is how colon is used to mark off two appositive units, non-parenthetic appositive units. Apposition, as I already told you, are the use of two noun phrases which refer to the same thing or same entity. Then the sixth is the independent units, usually clauses separated by a semicolon. Then we have sentences separated by a period in American English and full stop in British English. Uh, so the semicolon sentences separated by a period and following a capital. Then there are paragraphs separated by switching to a new line of writing and often indented. So there are more. We can go on. We can include chapters, etc. But that is beyond the scope of this chapter. Then first we talk about hyphen, the functions of hyphen. The main functions of hyphen is the first function of hyphen is the word division at the end of a line, which can be done in three ways. That is orthographic, morphological, and syllabic. Basically, we use morphological and syllabic. For instance, you take the word structure. Now, structure can be divided in two ways. First, morphologically, as you can see in this picture, we can have it as a structure, that is struct, then dash, then ure, which is followed in British English. And the syllabic, that is, we have struc dash ture, which is a syllabic which is followed in American English. So the first one is morphological and the second one is syllabic. The division, especially in British English, words which are not regarded wholly established, for instance, anti-war or flower power, these are also separated by hyphen. And the junction of phrasal units, as pre-modifiers. Now we can use a was of 4th century, but when we use these words as to pre-modify the noun was, then we place a dash between 4th and century, so it becomes a 4th century was. So these are the two functions of hyphen. Now then we talk about commas. Now comma is basically used to separate items in a list. They are used to separate coordinate clauses, especially that where there is a use of but. And then initial adverbial clauses can also be separated by comma. Vocatives are separated by commas. You can see this for all these four examples here in this picture. The first example, that is the items in a list. The example is the farmer owned sheep, cattle, pigs, and poultry. So sheep, we see the commas after sheep, cattle, pigs, and poultry. After poultry, we have a full stop, which marks the end of the sentence. The next sentence is the lecture was good, but few people were present. These are the coordinate clauses using but. So we use comma after the first clause. The lecture was good, but few people were present. The third is the case of the adverbial, which is used initially. When she saw him, she burst out laughing. So we use a comma after the initial adverbial when she saw him. That is the time adverbial. At the time she saw him. Finally, we have the vocative. That is when we call out someone's name. John, do you know Mary's address? So after John, we have a comma. John, do you know Mary's address? So these are the functions of commas. Although comma cannot be used to separate a subject from a predicate, nor can it be used to subject a verb from its object. Then we talk about included units. Included units are of two types. That is, they are parenthetic material, and there is the quotation. They are the quotations. So the two commonest types of included unit are parenthetic or subordinate matter, and quotation or other reference to different linguistic sphere. Sorry. So the punctuation marking the included units must be correlative. That is, one punctuation should mark the beginning of the inclusion, and the second punctuation should mark the completion of the included matter. Parenthetic matter may be either adverbial, it may be appositive, or structurally unrelated. And the punctuation marks for parenthetics can be commas, or they can be dashes, or they can be brackets. Now, examples are the other man, David Johnson, refused to leave. So we have a comma after the other man. Then we include the parenthetic material, that is David Johnson. Then again we have the comma to end the included material, that is included matter, and then the sentence follows. So the parenthetic material is additional information which can be removed from a sentence, and the sentence is still valid, is still meaningful. Now if we were to remove David Johnson from here, the other man refused to leave, the sentence is still meaningful. The second example is that of brackets, using brackets. So John, or perhaps his wife, will collect the parcel. So this parenthetic material can also be removed, and we can have John will collect the parcel. We are only providing additional information within brackets. The third case is using the dashes. David Johnson, and this is unrelated matter. David Johnson dash, I don't know why, refused to leave. So this is another form of parenthesis. So all these three forms are types of parenthesis. The first is using two commas. The second is using two brackets. And the third is using two dashes. Now we talk about direct speech, that is the quotation, quoting somebody else's words. So direct speech is enclosed in single or double quotation marks. In British English, it is also called inverted commas. They are usually single, especially in print, and quotation within quotation uses both to mark the distinction. So the example is, I heard, as you can see on this page, in this picture, I heard keep out. So this is the quoted material, that is the exact words of the other person. So I heard keep out being shouted, he explained. So this is quotation. Already there is a quotation, I heard. So keep out is somebody else's word. So there is a quotation within quotation. So we start the quoted material. If there is a quotation within quotation, so we can, in order to differentiate between these two types of quotation, that is quotation within quotation, uh, when we start the quotation, that is, we start with a single inverted comma. Then we quote some other matter, some other material, some other words. We put two inverted commas to separate the two quotations. So this is how the inverted commas are used for quotations. Uh, then uh, then some, if there is a word which is out of the language, some other word other than English is used, we also put that word within quotation marks. For instance, a carafe of plonk accompanied the meal. So plonk is something which is not there in the English language. So we separate this, we put this in quotation marks, single inverted commas. Now we come to questions, the specification part, that is the functions most commonly specified by punctuation signs are questions, exclamation, genitives, contractions, and abbreviations. Now, questions, that is, everybody knows that questions are marked off by a question mark. For instance, as the simplest example is, what is your name? That is marked by a question mark. But there are certain statements which are in the form of questions. Which are indicated by a ending in a rising tone, that is used for seeking information. So by this we know that these are questions and not statements. So these are also marked by question marks. So the first example, John has gone already. By appearance, it seems that this is a statement and not a question. But when we use it to seek information, our tone is rising. John has gone already. So we want a confirmation. We want an answer whether John has gone or he is still there. So this is the reason we use a question mark after statements of this type. The second example is that of exclamation. Isn't she beautiful? What a nuisance. So we put exclamation marks after such sentences, such structures. So in these examples, the specification signs are especially relevant, since the grammatical form would otherwise suggest that the first is statement and the second a question. The exclamation mark is, however, sparingly used in English. We don't use exclamation mark that much. The second is the case of apostrophe, which is used to mark off the genitive, which is used to mark off contractions. So genitive, that is dog, dogs, or this is the child's dress. So there is a mark after child, and S, child's dress, that is the dress belonging to that child. And the contractions are used as in the case that, as you can see in this pics, John did not go to the party. So we can have a contracted form. John didn't go to the party. So there is an apostrophe. There is a mark between DIDN apostrophe T, which is the contracted form. Contracted form of he will is he apostrophe double L. Contracted form of I have is I apostrophe VE. Similarly, there are abbreviations which can be marked off by full stops, which can be marked off by periods. Uh, like PTO, as you can see in this picture, PTO we can have with periods or without periods, PTO. Uh, or there are the lowercase things, example, that is, example with full stops. And shortened forms of words normally have a period, like professor. We use a period after professor. But if it ends in the end letter, that is like a doctor, so we do not use a full stop after doctor. But normally in these days we do not use the full stops even after professor and doctor. So this is what these are use all these structures, that is for abbreviations, and for abbreviations we use full stops or periods. But we also use comma in after salutation in British English, and dear Mr. Johnson, we have a comma. But if you were to if you were to use it in American English, that is, dear Mr. Johnson, we would be using a colon, that is 2 points. There is a difference that as I already told you in previous lecture, that there are differences in of using language in British variety and American variety. Finally, we come to the use of italics, which are used for emphasis. For instance, there is an example. It was not so much anger or as self-reproach that made him agitated. Italics are also used with initial capitals for open class words or in quoting titles of books. His next play was Peace in the Dark. This is how italics are used for emphasis. Now there's a quick recap of what we have done about the punctuation, starting with full stop, which is full stop in British English and a period in American English. So full stops are used after sentences to end sentences, and they're also used in abbreviations. For instance, the miles per hour, etc., inches, etc. A comma is used for to mark off items in a list. And we've seen uses of commas. That is, they are also used to mark off between two coordinated clauses, where there is but, using but, and to mark off initial adverbials, to mark off vocatives. Likewise, an exclamation is used. The question mark is used to mark the question. That is that your answer? As you can see on this page, why don't you listen? An exclamation mark is a mark is in British English, and point is in American English. Goes at the end of a sentence which expresses for emotional emphasis. That is, the examples are what a nuisance. What a nuisance, we've run out of fuel. So what a nuisance, we put a we put an exclamation mark after what a nuisance. Then the semicolon is used to mark off the mark of independent units clauses. The example is when many people dislike using a semicolon. This is an example. Then we have a semicolon after the word semicolon, and then personally, I find the semicolon a very useful punctuation mark. This is an example. So we put a semicolon after the word semicolon. Then the colon is similar to semicolon, but it implies that what follows is an explanation of what goes before it. This we have already done, the colon. So the example is they ordered a huge four-course lunch. That is, we put a colon after that. Now what will follow is the explanation. What was that? What is that four-course lunch? First they had soup, then a chicken curry. This was followed by ice cream, and finally cheese and biscuits. So this is the explanation of what has gone before the colon. Then finally, parentheses, we can use either dashes, or we can use brackets or commas. Dashes are informal and brackets are more formal. Uh, to mark off the parentheses, the example here is the second of the two wanted men. So we can have this man, the name John Matthews, either in dashes or in brackets. Uh, so the example is the second of the wanted man, John Matthews, has not been seen for several years. Finally, we come to the quotation marks, double quotation marks or single quotation marks. We have done the example of quotation within quotation. So it is there that we use both the double quotation marks and the single quotation marks to differentiate between the quoted material, different types of quoted material, that is quotation within quotation. So this brings us to the end of the punctuation. We have completed the topic punctuation. So thank you very much.